So I mean, today, mate, it's getting to know a bit more about you. Obviously, we met on Instagram. Hear your story, hear your difficult times, and the thing that I like to speak about the most is a solution, right? Not everybody's solution's the same. However, your solution looks, it'd be different to mine. And the main focus of what I like to do with my podcast is around mental health, addictions, and things like this. Is we must talk solution, because without solution, we're only ever talking the problem, right?
Yeah.
And just by talking about the problem, we become the problem. By talking about the solution, we become the solution. So I mean, we'll start from the beginning, mate, and just work our way up to today, I guess.
Yeah, so literally the whole background of myself is I'm an ex-professional footballer, and like I moved away from Dublin when I was 15 years old. And with moving away, obviously football being the dream, I got an opportunity to play for Derby County. And within the very first season that I flew away, I went from playing with the under 16s to a chance of playing with the under 18s. Then I got a chance to play for the reserves. And then by the end of that season, I got to make my debut for Derby's first team at the age of 16. And that was like a whirlwind in itself. It was almost kind of like playing from a local park a year previous to then it was like 20 odd thousand at Vicarage Road away at Watford. Like it was something like it was one of those where you just look at and think that's what dreams are kind of made of, that it happened so quickly. And flew home to Ireland that summer, and then I came back and ready to hit the ground running and kick on and just let the path keep going up and up and up. And we had the routine medical screenings because I was able to be a first year scholar at this time. And with the routine screening was like your height, your weight, your blood pressures, your body fats, and a heart screening. And with my heart screening, I thought it was going to be straightforward like everyone else. You go in the door, get screened, get told you're okay, and you go back out and train. And unfortunately with me, the doctor scanned me and he called the physio into the room. They shut the door behind them and they came in to talk to me. And they said, Mark, look, we've picked up a slight abnormality with your valve. You've got a minor leak in your aortic valve, which they also said people live with this in their entire lives for until later down the line. Potentially it could become a problem, but for majority of people, you can live with this and not know that you've got it. So they asked me all the same questions. Do you feel dizzy, fatigued, breathless? Do you feel lightheaded? And none of that was ever close to me. Like I never felt a single thing. So they told me I probably won't need an operation for another 50, 60 years. So football is kind of carry on as normal. And with myself, I went back out and I started training. But again, with the training, it was during pre-season. So I remember as a couple of weeks passed, the fitness coach then, as we were starting to wear heart rate monitors and training, I remember he was reading out like all the information, and he was reading out all the stats of everybody's heart rate. And when he got to my name, my max heart rate was 227, 28, and the average was 203 throughout a full session. So obviously they looked at that and they put two and two together. And with them putting two and two together, they thought, well, could it be this that's making his heart go like this, or is he just working really hard? So they put it forward towards a specialist. A specialist looked at all the information, and with that, he wanted me to go for an MRI scan to see what my heart was like functioning and on a live feed. So again, I got told, like, look, it's nothing to worry about. Like, you're not feeling anything, so it's okay. We just want to see what your heart looks like as it functions. So I went and I had the MRI scan. And with this MRI scan, afterwards, the doctor pulled me and the physio into a room and they gave us the results. And he said, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the worst it's leaking and 1 being just a minor leak, he said, yours is leaking about a 7 or an 8 back into your heart. And it was at that point they started to take it a little bit more serious, to think, right, that doesn't sound great. everybody is a novice to all of this. So like we didn't know what to kind of expect. So they sent off those results to another specialist. We went and seen another specialist, and then this specialist was somebody who basically said, look, it looks like it progressed a little bit, but it's nothing to be alarmed about, but it's progressed that little bit more, and I won't need an operation for another 30 years. And again, all I ever had in my head was, can I still play football? 30 years time, I'll be in my 40s, football will be finished. So again, I didn't have like too much of a worry, but I could feel that it was getting a little bit more serious by how people were talking around me. So my family were getting updated, my dad more than my mum. And the specialist said that he wants to send it on to a surgeon. And with him sending it on to a surgeon, he said, I want to get his professional opinion on what these results are saying, just to see what the way we go forward with all of this. So again, I was kind of in and out of training a little bit, and then the time came to see a surgeon, and my mum, my dad flew over, and the Derby physio and myself were all sitting in an office in the hospital. And I remember the surgeon walking in, and as he walked in, he just put his diary or whatever he had in his hand on his desk, and he picked up a model heart, and he said, right, Mark, your heart is 3 times the size of what it should be for someone of your age, and if you don't have the operation done this year, you will die.
Fuck.
And it was then that it felt almost like surreal. Like it didn't feel real that he's talking to me. Like it just never felt like you're saying these words to me. But again, I've said it many times that I think being 16 and very naive went in my favour, because the only question I asked him was, can I still play football? And that was all that I was thinking about, was, is my football career still going to be okay? Because I had the debut the year before, so I thought, I just want to play football. And he said, after having the operation, I'll be lucky to play down the park with my friends. He said, this is something where, to be at a professional standard, he said, you need a fitness level of up here. And he said, obviously, after open heart surgery, you won't be guaranteed to get back to that level of fitness. So maybe professional football isn't going to be something that is going to go forward for yourself. And then that's when the news broke me. Like, the news at that point killed me then, for the fact of thinking I'll never get to play football again. And we went through the procedures of what can happen. One was a metallic valve. Another one was something they call the Ross operation, where they swap your lung valve with your aortic valve. So they're all still your same tissues. But then after so long, or after so many years, you need to have a second open heart surgery on the lung valve that obviously is the damaged one. But because the lung valve is something that doesn't get used as often, they said that that's what gives you the longevity in it.
Yeah.
And the next option was a pigskin valve, which he said, look, if it takes to your body, it's something that can last you a year to a maximum of 5 years. But he said, in between that, there's no guarantee it's going to last you that. He said, this is just something where we put it in, and he said it's probably the best and less percentage-wise of things going wrong type of operation. But again, there's no guarantee. But he said this one might be the slight chance of getting yourself back to playing a bit of football again. And with that small little glimmer, I almost just accepted it there and then and said, yeah, that's the one that I want. And I didn't have to speak to my parents. And again, I was lucky because they just backed everything that I wanted. And I went and I had the operation in October 2009. And I remember the operation took 6 hours long, and the recovery of getting out of hospital, like, it all seemed pretty straightforward. But again, it was something, being 16, I didn't really take much on board about how significant and the severity of the operation. And then as that season went on, I ended up playing. I ended up like going home to Ireland for 3 months. And then after that 3 months, I went back to Derby. I started to do like slow walks in the snow. Then it was slow jogging in the snow. And I never felt I was getting anywhere with it. But again, I had physios who have never rehabbed a heart before. I had a fitness coach who, like, in football, how do you rehab a heart? But everybody, it was all like kind of trial and error. Like, we're going to try this and see if it works. We're going to try the next thing. How do you get somebody fit? well, we're going to start from ground zero and we're going to build it up and go along with that. And because I was doing certain jogs on the field next to where my teammates were training, I always felt as though I am so far behind them. And it was almost putting me back a little bit, and it was almost like putting me down a little bit. But I had everybody else being positive around me. So I always knew, right, just keep taking it on another day and just keep going to that next day. And after the 6 months of being out of hospital, you go back for a 6-month scan. And they'd done a fitness test with me. They were like, right, walk on the treadmill. And I just started walking. He goes, right, keep walking on the treadmill, keep walking. And they turned the speed up that little bit more. And I breezed through it. And they said, Mark, you are miles ahead of where you should be. Like, this is amazing. And that's what gave me the little bit of a boost to go again, to think, right, I'm on the right track. Like, I don't have to worry about what my teammates are doing. Like, I'm doing okay. And that spurred me on a little bit more. And then by March, April time, I got myself back into Derby County's under-18s team. And then with getting back into Derby County's under-18s team, I played a couple of games. And then I made the first team bench by the end of that season. And I was back playing again. And once I got to put a shirt back on me, to be back out on a pitch alongside teammates, nothing else mattered to me. And the moment that happened, now I've been told off a lot of people, like there was a lot of hearts and mouths from people on the sideline when I was stepping back onto a pitch. But for me, it was like the best distraction ever. Like, I got back on a pitch, the ball is there to be blocked, tackled, win a header, and I didn't care. Like, everything that had just gone on was like, it's all gone now. And that's how that kind of unfolded. But as tough and as lack of football that I played that season, I'll always say it was probably the most significant part of my whole career, because after that I went and played for Derby and played a number of games, but I had an ACL injury, and I always looked at that and thought, well, if I can get back from open heart surgery, I can get back from this. And then anything that came my way always kind of got referred back to the same thing again, over and over, to kind of think, if I can get back from this and that, well, then this one. And that was the mentality I kind of instilled in myself from like 15 and 16. And I just remained positive. Now, again, I still had the down days of like the first couple of days, the first few weeks of thinking, why did this have to happen to me? And like, you feel like the world is swallowing you up. And I have all of those feelings. But I've always was able to find a way of just thinking, no, I've got back from this one will be just as good, and the next thing and the next thing. And I ended up getting to play a football career for 11, 12 years. And in between all of that, I would have a routine heart scan every single season. And after every single season, which potentially could have been my last one, I would just get told either it was a thumbs up or a thumbs down, like your career's done or you keep on going. And I think the longer my career went on, I lost sight of the bad news that was potentially around the corner, even though I knew it was coming. And I just always hoped on the right thing and the right information to get said to me, Mark, you're okay, go again. And I got so used to that during COVID in 2020, it was during lockdown, I remember I came back from a cycle on my bike and I was sitting on my sofa, and I remember I just got a massive thump in my chest. And the thump that I got on my chest, I could feel like my neck pulsing, I could feel my hands clammy, and I just thought, something doesn't feel right here. And then as the days were going on, I was getting palpitations in my chest. I was feeling the lightheadedness, I was feeling the fatigue. And because I didn't really know what was happening, I remember I was getting really frustrated with myself, because I was thinking, if football is to start back, because we didn't know when it was going to start back, I'm going to look like I didn't do any sort of training, and I'm going to look unfit, and the manager's going to go mad. And they were the lines I was thinking down, not the fact of, hang on, there's something not quite right here. And I remember I found our club doctor at the time. And because the hospitals were so busy at that time, it was hard to try and get a scan, but he managed to get me a scan in Cardiff. And I went down to Cardiff, and I'm on one hand hoping they would find something to explain why I feel how I feel. And then on the other hand, I was hoping, please don't find anything, because I don't think I'm ready to hear this. And I went down and I had me scan. And it was at that moment, the doctor came out and said, Mark, your valve is leaking. And he said, it's leaking quite badly. And I remember I sat in his office and I just put my head in my hands and I just burst into tears. And again, as the surgeon himself and the doctor sat there and he explained to me, Mark, there's procedures that can happen to prolong your career. Like there's certain players that have done this. And I told them, like, I've made a promise to myself at 16 and to people that were really close to me that I was always going to have one operation from my career, whether that was going to be the year to a maximum of 5 years or luckily enough the 11, 12 years that I got. And then the next one after that was always going to be for the rest of my life. And I was never going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 chances with an open heart surgery, because I always look at it and just think, why would I want to do that for a lifespan of a 15-year career at best? Like, enjoy it for what it is and then do something for the rest of your life. But when I explained that to the specialist, he was just trying to console me, and I just couldn't help myself but cry. Like, I just felt so numb. And it was when I got home and I phoned my mum and I said, Mum, my valve is leaking again. She flew back over to me like within a day, and the whole process started again. But this time around, being 27, it was a whole lot different. Like, I was well aware of everything that was happening to me. I had the anxiety and the stresses. I wasn't a naive 16-year-old to not understand what's going on. And I started to develop panic attacks when I never knew what a panic attack was. I remember I was sitting on the sofa directly behind me. And as I was sitting there, I had to open up the 2 doors. I could feel my forehead starting to sweat. My hands were starting to clam up and my vision was starting to go. And my mum was sitting on the other sofa and she said, "Are you feeling okay?" And I said, my heart is starting to race. I said, I can't breathe. And I remember she grabbed my hands, and it was the first time that I actually really got scared, because my mum just like told me to put your head down and just breathe. And I could hear me ma kind of praying for me. And it was that point that it was actually like thinking, this could be it. This part of me life, like, am I dying? Like, it was the first time something set into my head like that, to think, am I actually dying right now? And then an ambulance came, and then I get told that it was a panic attack. And I was just thinking, it can't be. Like, this cannot just be a panic attack. There's something. So we ended up going into the hospital in Leicester, where I had the last operation. And they admitted me in straight away. And obviously I started to feel a little bit more at ease, thinking I have doctors around me now, so I'm going to be okay. But again, not really wanting open heart surgery. Like, I was kind of like reluctant to want open heart surgery, because I was thinking, I can't go through this again. I remember everything from step to step what it was at 16. And you think that you wouldn't remember back that far, but I remember every single detail of everything. And I'm sitting in the hospital bed and I get told, look, a week on Thursday is going to be our operation. So I thought, brilliant. I've been in the hospital now for 2 weeks. So next week is going to be my operation. And with that, 2 nights before my operation, I started to get the same sweats again. And I started to get the palpitations in my chest and the clamminess. And I started to feel like I was getting ill. And I remember I'm buzzing the doctor, the night doctor come running in. And I had to ask for a sick bowl, and I just got sick. And with being sick, my heart rate then spikes, my temperature goes through the roof. They're thinking, does Mark have COVID? So then that was going to be another big thing. Then all of a sudden I started to have to get blood tests done. I had to start getting urine tests done. And with all of that went on, the doctor came in and said, Mark, look, we needing to check for any infections, because if there is an infection in and around your heart or in the valve itself, it isn't a good thing, but it means we can't operate on Thursday. So we need to make sure that the results come back. And then the following day, the evening before the date of my operation, the doctor came in and said, Mark, we're still waiting to hear back on the results, but we've moved you onto the main ward now where everybody's recovering. I was still waiting on the operation. And the reason we have you hooked up to all these monitors is because he said your valve is hanging on by a thread. And he said, with that thread that it's hanging on by, he said, if that's to break off through the night and circulate your body and get lodged in your brain, he said, you're dead. So he said the next 24 hours for you, he said, are very critical. And that to me then broke me even more, because again, like, I was understanding everything. Like, and because it was COVID and there's no family allowed in the hospital, the doctors are telling you everything. So you're just absorbing all of this bad news constantly. And I remember I was on the phone to my mum, trying to remain positive, saying, look, I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. My mum's on the other end of the phone. And the story behind that is, with my mum being on the other end of the phone, the nurse went over to the housing accommodation where my mum was staying and told her, we might need you to come over to the hospital. Things aren't looking good for Mark. So both of us are on the phone with each other, knowing the news that we know, but trying to keep each other positive. And I was like, I always remember the conversation saying, look, I will be okay. Like, everything's going to be fine. And my mum is saying the same things to me. But it's almost breaking me, thinking, I'm putting my mum through all this. Like, and you almost take it on your own shoulders, thinking like, oh, I don't want to be putting my mum through this. Like, I'm trying to tell her I'll be okay. So then the next day came and the doctor came into me and he goes, Mark, look, you haven't got an infection in your valve and you can have the operation. And with that, floods of tears come out of me again. I shake his hand and I just felt as though my perspective changed and everything just went straight away. It was almost like, I need this operation to save me life. Like, I need this to happen to save me life. I wasn't afraid of open heart surgery anymore. I was thinking, get me down into the operating theatre and save me. And once they said that, I went and had the operation that day, which took 7.5 hours. The doctors spoke to me and my mum even afterwards and said, Mark, we're surprised that you're still here, because the state your heart was in, you shouldn't be alive since January, let alone in the summertime. So everything that kind of went on at that point, once I had the operation and I knew I was on the recovery side of stuff, I knew I was able to then almost go, right, I know what to do now. I know it's going to be step after step. Go out and walk the day after the operation, and then you walk again, and then it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And you just slowly build it up. But the difference of this time is there's no family sitting by my bed to say, come on, Mark, let's go for a walk. Come on, Mark, let's just keep you going and keeping your own morale up. Like, I had to do it for myself. And while I was then after the operation waiting in the bed, they thought I had the infection back again. And what it was I had inflammation around the aortic root that they had to put in, and they had to shrink it back down. So I've got a prosthetic aortic root in my chest at the moment. And the area that it swelled out to obviously has been filled with inflammation. So I have other doctors coming in going, Mark, we might have to open you up again, and these things are going to have to happen. And I remember I just couldn't take it anymore. I was on the phone to my mum and I was like, I can't go back under the knife anymore. Like, I won't make it. And I'm saying all these things and I just can't get my head around the idea of this isn't as straightforward as it was before. Like, this isn't the same recovery that I expected it to be. And again, the doctor come in and I got put on some anti-inflammatories, and with that, after 10 days, I was back out and I was on my way back home after 7 weeks being in hospital. But the difference of everything was I felt I was over hospitalized a lot. And it was once I was out on my own 2 feet and I'm back in my own comfort in my own apartment, that's when all the trouble started. All the darkest of times started for me, where I was too afraid to sleep because I was afraid I was never going to wake up. I've got a metallic valve in my chest now, which you can hear ticking like a clock, especially when the room is quiet. It's the thump in your chest you can feel 24/7. So if my heart rate went up, I'd panic thinking, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. If my heart rate was in a relaxed mode and it beats really slow, it feels like my heart's about to stop. So no way I was ever able to just settle in my own mind and think, I can actually just breathe a little bit. I was always on severe watch for everything. And then that turned into, I didn't want to get out of bed because I felt as though if I get out of bed and go for a walk, I don't want to feel the valve. The only time I don't feel it is when I lay down. So I'm going to stay laying down and I'm going to stay in bed because this is me comfort zone.
Safe place.
This is exactly where I feel safe. And with it feeling so safe, I knew I was damaging myself because, like any muscle in your body, the more you train it, the better it gets. And your heart is a muscle. So you have to go out and do your walking and you have to do those things. But I had no reason to do these things anymore. I didn't have football anymore. I retired from football. I had no reason to get out of bed because I wasn't going to training anymore. I had no reason to get fit because I wasn't going back to football anymore. So I was sitting there thinking, well, I don't have to do anything, so I've got no reason to do them. And as time was going on, I was getting in touch with a cardiac rehab group and they were setting me little things to do through the week. So if I had to walk 20 minutes 3 times a week, that was the structure I was starting to get back into my life. But then once that stopped, I'm straight back into bed. And I remember I got told I was severely depressed because there wasn't any reason for me to lay in bed all those times. But in my mind, I was justifying it by saying, I've just had open heart surgery, leave me alone. Like, I'm okay. I'm not thinking anything. I'm not depressed. No, you are, because you can get up, you can shower, you can wash, you can walk outside, you can do all these things, but you're choosing not to. And I said, well, I'm choosing not to because I've had open heart surgery. So you're trying to justify everything constantly. And then the panic attack started, where I had a panic attack laying in bed and I couldn't even bear to look at my room. So I started sleeping on my sofa. And then I had a panic attack on my sofa. So then I couldn't even bear coming into my living room. So I'd sit back in the bed. Like, I was just in all of these different places where I just couldn't find any will to kind of think, this can't be me for the rest of my life. Like, I just felt as though I was so down and out. And every time I would drift off asleep, I'd wake up in a panic because I'd feel as though my heart has stopped, because I'd just lose sight of the ticking of the valve and I think it's at the stopping. So there was like so many mind games that were going on, and the whole routine of everything came down to the fact that I just lost my whole sole purpose. I lost everything, and I felt as though my whole life has just finished. Like, I've got nothing. What marked the footballer was as this strong leader, this captain of a team, this person who would go out and take stuff on his shoulders and be a listening ear for people and be the person who enjoys helping. Now all of a sudden I was just like, well, I'm not that anymore. I'm just Mark, who cries in front of people, who just sits in bed, who's depressed, who has panic attack. Like, and I'm trying to cover all that up. And I was grateful that Newport as a club still had the doors open for me. So it gave me a slight bit of a routine to start going back into football again, to just kind of get myself out of bed. But I'd go straight into football and I'd come home and go straight to bed. And the thing was that the never-ending theme of when all of this was going on was everybody used to constantly tell me, Mark, you're too hard on yourself. Mark, you're constantly hard on yourself. Because once I started taking warfarin, I got told certain foods you're allowed to not have to keep your bloods level. And even with that, it was almost kind of like I'd done everything by the book and then my bloods were off. Right, I'd beat myself up going, why did this have to happen? Like, I'd done everything correctly and I couldn't understand why. Then I'd get told to go out and do walking. How far do you want me to walk? Well, walk till you feel tired. And I'd beat myself up going, I don't think I'm tired enough. I should have done more. And then if I go into the training ground and I'd come home, I'd go, I didn't even walk today. I didn't even try and go to the gym today. My day's ruined. And I'd beat myself up about that. And I was just constantly so hard on myself about so many things. And it was one day I was in the training ground and everything I was trying to like almost not tell anybody, because I'd try and go in with a smile on my face and try and be the big person of, Mark, you successfully went through open heart surgery. You're like, you've done brilliant. You're amazing. And the pats on the back. But what was happening at home was I was struggling to sleep and I was not getting any sleep. And the only time I would sleep would be when I'm that exhausted, you almost pass out of sleep and you wake up and not even realizing that you went to sleep. Like, nothing felt as though I was actually living. The way I always described it was I was just surviving every day. I was just surviving every single day. Like, just get through it. Just get through this day. And it was that day in the training ground. I remember I had a panic attack in the training ground, but there was people around me this time. The physio came out and was doing breathing with me. I had staff members walking past and players walking past. And I remember I just started to cry because I'm thinking, I don't want you to see me like this. Like, the person that you remember me as the captain of this team. Now all of a sudden I'm laying on a sofa afraid that I'm about to die and I'm crying. But the one thing that did do for me is made me comfortable in an area now that comfortability in football, I know I can go in, so I don't have to hide these panic attacks anymore. I can be comfortable around people. I'm not trying to hold anything back. And then that slowly led into another thing where I was always speaking to the doctor, texting him every single day about all these little small things. And he suggested to me, Mark, have you ever thought about doing counselling? And I said, well, I don't need counselling. I said, everything's all right. I said, I'm only just needing a slight bit of reassurance every so often. He said, Mark, I think counselling would be best for you. He said, it's not just for the heart surgery. He said, for everything. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, you speaking about this, he said, is something that you need to be able to clear your mind with, because he said, it's easy for me to give you an antidepressant. He said, it's easy for me to do that. But he said, I want you to explore every avenue and get these things off your chest and understand them more before any of that even gets mentioned. And I was like, right. So because he suggested it to me, I thought I'll give it a go. And I remember I sat with the counsellor through a Zoom call, and the first session was we just sat and spoke. It was literally just to kind of go, well, Mark, tell me the background of everything.
Yeah.
Tell me what your operation was like. And I'm explaining the operation, saying, look, well, I had a ventilator down my throat, and the reason why my voice is so croaky right now is because it clipped the vocal cord on the way out, and I had tubes in my stomach and a tube coming out my neck, and I had all these different things. And she stopped me in my tracks and said, do you understand what you're saying? And I said, well, I'm telling you the operation. Like, I kind of laughed about it. And she was like, yeah, but Mark, you're talking about something that not a lot of people will experience, and you're talking about it like you've just had your tooth out. Like, you have normalized something so severe and something so life-changing that what your mind is thinking is normal. Your body is understanding that this is actually altering and changing your life. So you're not giving yourself the time of day. If anything, again, when it popped up was, if anything, Mark, you're being hard on yourself. You're talking about it like it's nothing. Like, you have to give yourself justice, and you have to give yourself the time of day for what you've gone through. And you've not just gone through it once, you've gone through it twice. So not two operations are exactly the same. And it was only then when I started to have to speak about myself, about, but how did it make you feel? And what are your thoughts through it? Every single time I spoke about myself with the counsellor, I just broke into tears, because I come from an industry of, it's a team sport. Everything is for the team, and the team have done really well, and everything's done amazing. Like, the talk about yourself was kind of unheard of. And the time I've actually had to speak about myself, I actually struggled and just burst into tears, because I actually thought, I don't know how I'm going to speak any of this. Like, I don't know what I need to say. Like, I am struggling, and I started to come to terms with everything. I'm going, yeah, and I am scared. And I am terrified that, like, this is me for the rest of my life, and I don't want it to be. And I would just get more and more upset. But then the more we worked through, and the more that I opened up and understood it, it almost like the counselling brought me to a level of being comfortable to talk about it. It didn't eradicate everything, but it brought me to a level of going, well, I understand it more now. And then other lads reached out to me, who one was an ex-footballer and one was an ex-golfer. And they seen I was struggling, but they could talk to me on a level that they could understand me through retiring from professional football, where they goes, Mark, I know what you're going through, and trust me, it doesn't get any easier, and it will get harder before it gets better. Like, you're going to miss it so many times. You're missing your identity, and you're grieving for your football, which was your whole life, and the structure and the routine and everything of that. It's almost like they said, you have to accept that. You can't go back to that, because they explained to me and said, what are you, or what was you as a player? And I describe all these things like a leader. I felt strong, I felt fit, I felt healthy. I felt as though like I was someone out there that people could rely on. And they said, but Mark, the difference of all of that is you made your job successful. Football didn't make you that person. And it was then that I started to understand that, to kind of go, right, so then all of those qualities are the things that were in me, not the fact of that's what football gave me. So then you start understanding it a little bit more, and you come out of your shell a little bit more, and you start getting that kind of light back in your eye a little bit, going, oh, there are people who understand me here. And then the more I just dove into things, and the more I started to understand it was the fact of just going, make myself comfortable in all the uncomfortable situations that I'm feeling right now. Like, find a comfortable space in going to football a little bit more, going to football games and making sure I still turn up all the time, even when I don't feel like doing it, just keep doing it, because what feels uncomfortable now will get comfortable. And then I went on a speaking course, and that was something where it brought up a lot of those same anxieties, thinking, what if I panic in front of these? What if something happens to me? What if I collapse? And all of these things again with health anxiety. Again, nothing happened, but I pushed myself out of a comfort zone. And once I finished there, I unlocked a new little thing to go, I can go do these things. And then my confidence grew in myself. And then I started growing that confidence back so much more. And I just started taking more chances and things. And as time went on, it was almost like my dad said to me, Mark, whatever comes your way now, the world's your oyster. Say yes to every opportunity. Whatever comes your way, just say yeah, because right now you will not have a clue what you're good at and what you're not good at. Football is all you've known. So if something comes along, say yeah. And if you're not good at it, well, then you know you're not good because you tried. But never, don't try something because you think you won't be good at it. He said, just give it a go. And everything that came my way from there, I just said yes. And then commentary came along. And then someone asked me to do a book about my life, and that came along, and I done that. And then everything just slowly started turning around, and I started to then understand that everything is all in my hands right now. Everything I'm doing right now is my choice. And through my socials and through everything that I'm at, where I'm at right now, has all been a choice of going, I've just chosen not to give up. However way that looks, there's loads of different avenues that I tried. But the difference of it all was I just wasn't willing to give up on that next part of getting me back to a better me. Because what I understood before was I can't go back, and I will never go back. But what I can be is a better person than that person was when I played football. And I look back at everything and say, like, the smaller things and the smaller details of everything that I've gone through, where when I was so hard on myself, now all of a sudden I take so much more pride out of the smaller things of waking up, having breakfast, having a shower, going for a walk, being in fresh air, getting to see a different side of life away from football. And I take all that as being grateful now. And I'm glad that I had the operation, because where I'm at in my life now is I can understand people so much more. I understand people struggle so much more. And I just feel comfortable enough to talk about it with anybody and everybody, that everybody deserves to be listened to. And I'm proud of everything where I've been. And I was able to spin all these different things into choosing to see a silver lining in any part of my day. And it's not the fact of thinking every day is sunshine and rainbows and I'm this positive person. I just know that I make the choices for myself that I want to see the positive. Even if the whole day has been terrible, I will choose to see one positive in that day and focus on that, because that's what I want to do. And it mightn't be for everybody, but it's been able to just be open and honest about, yeah, I still struggle and my health anxiety still kicks in, and I still have days where I don't feel like doing things. But you know what? At least I woke up. At least I got out of bed. At least I had a breakfast. At least I had a shower. And those small 10 things will always outweigh that one big thing. And that's how I live my life now. And I'm so much more thankful for all of that than I've ever been. And to this present day, literally, that's the trajectory my life has gone on.
Have you done much work around the power of belief?
Do you know what? I would say, yeah. I'd say there was a time that was a small little bit of a turning point where, with all the counselling and with all the talking and with everything that I went through, there was a time where I was still having panic attacks, and my mum asked me to go see a healer. Now, this was somebody who's in Ireland who a friend told her about, and she was explaining my kind of the way my head was. And as she spoke to this man, he was almost like he's a counsellor / healing hands type person. So I said to my mum, look, this won't work for me. There's no point in me doing this. And my mum said, just give it a go for me, please. Just do it. because you've tried everything else. And I said, well, I've done everything. And my dad goes, well, if you've done everything, you haven't done this. So try it.
Yeah.
I said, okay, right. And I remember I sat in the room and I just started to talk. And he's just like a lovely old Irish man. And we're just sitting talking away. And he's asking me about things. And he's asking me about like my next path in life and how unsure am I. And we were just talking about like my future, really. And then he put a spiritual book on my lap. And it must have been about that width. And we sat and we spoke. And he said, close your eyes. And he said, open her up on any page. And I have pictures on my phone of this and everything. And I opened it up, and on one of the pages, it read out, you are struggling to know what to do next with in life. And then I had a little paragraph after it. And it almost kind of made me sit and think, well, that's a bit strange. Like, not out of anything out of the ordinary, but I just thought this is a bit strange, because is every page like this? Is this a book that you, after the conversation we had, you knew that I was going to pick this, or whatever it might be? So then he picked up these spiritual cards and he said, Mark, I'm going to hand them to you. He said, shuffle them. And he said, take them out in whatever order that you want. But he said, whatever you do pick out, he said, you're going to be guided to whichever one. And I went along with it, and I picked out 10 cards. And as I flipped them over, he explained them all to me, and I took a picture of them as well. And with all of the cards, there was certain things about me future, and there was certain things about me life. But then there was always one card that almost gave me that belief, because through all of my open heart surgery while I was sitting in hospital on my own, I never had one doctor tell me at certain times, Mark, you're going to be okay. It was always horrible news, horrible news. And I think it was always one thing I just wanted someone to just, from anywhere, say to me, Mark, everything's going to be okay. And the one card that sat out with me, it read, Mark, the worst is all over with now. Your guardian angel is looking down on you. The worst has already happened. You can sit and you can relax. Everything will be okay. And that card sat with me. And for whatever reason, it was that one thing, once I read it, that made me think everything's going to be okay. Like somebody's telling me. Now, I don't know who it is telling me, and I don't know why it's telling me. And if it is that belief of somebody is looking over me, then I'm going to believe it. And then it was that belief that kind of led with me, that it almost felt like a weight off my shoulders. And there's not very often that I think anybody knows that story about me. But that belief came from that. And the more that I just sit and think about these things, that everything turned into a belief system that I just, once I believe it and going, no, I believe everything is going to be okay. I believe in the positive way of thinking, and I believe in the positive choice of things, and I believe in so many things, that there's a lot of belief systems out there, but I have a massive belief in myself. And the massive belief in myself is that I know I'll make it through anything. And that's all come from what you want to call one single meeting with one card and some person being there to kind of show me the way towards it. And that just almost changed me perspective, even on that for itself, for the belief system, for everything.
So for me, I got asked a question about 2 years ago, what the difference was between a thought and a belief. And the difference is emotional association or emotional attachment. So we've got one world, right? There's one world, there's 8 billion different realities. Your reality is different to mine. You might think something is good that I think is bad, vice versa, right? That's your belief, that's my belief. Same with religion. There's belief through emotional association, whether that be love, whatever the emotion is. You mentioned before the thing that stood out for me a lot when you were going through that depressive stage in your life. I've been through a very similar one. I took cocaine for best part of 20 years, all due to the fact that I didn't know how to regulate myself as a human being. Whenever I'd feel happy, I'd associate that with drugs. Whenever I'd feel sad, I'd associate it with drugs. All because of, inevitably, the way that I was raised, the way that I was brought up. And I take huge accountability now for my choices in life. But even though I take accountability, we really need to understand the why to the what, right? And that's through belief, that's through association. You mentioned before that it was the fight for your life when you were going through surgery. And I agree totally. At that moment in time, you're fighting for your life going through open heart surgery, which I've never been through, but I'd imagine is fucking terrifying, right? Then you've come out of that, but your emotional association to that moment stays. And that's what trauma is. People think that trauma is something that you can just talk about it and it's going to be good. It's going to be fine. That's not how the body works. There's a book, and I'd love you to read it. If you don't want to read it, you can listen to it on Spotify. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. It's the fucking bet. I'm doing a master's equivalent in psychology now. That's what I'm studying. And that was one of the books that got me into it, and it was amazing. But it talks about the power of belief. So let's take somebody who's a drug addict, for instance, and they say, I will always be an addict, right? That then gives identity to the conversation, to the statement. That then becomes a part of you, and it will be held physically in your body. Have you heard of the vagus nerve? You know what the vagus nerve is?
Is that the one in the neck?
Yeah, so it goes from behind your ear through your neck and all over your body, basically. And there's something called polyvagal theory, which is, you've heard of fight, flight, or freeze, all that type of stuff, fight and flight. So when we're depressed, we're operating from like the gut area. I've been depressed myself, and you're almost numb to emotions. You feel tired, you feel sick, you don't want to move, you think the world is against you, and you said it yourself. Even when you were at home and you wouldn't get out of bed, it was like you were fighting for your life. That's not because it was like you were fighting for your life. Your body and brain and mind thinks it's fighting for its life. Therefore, it is.
Yeah.
There's no if it. There's no. It feels like it. That is your perception. Your body is telling you we need to stay still because there's a good chance we're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
That's your body giving you those messages. And I've always said, and I got it taught to me by the guy mentoring me, emotions are the messengers of who we are, right? Whenever we feel emotional, that's our body and mind and soul and spirit trying to tell us something, whatever that message may be. We're sad. Why am I sad? Oh, my grandfather died. Love. That's because I love him. That's why I feel sad. And what I really try to do now is I try to understand my emotions. Why do I feel this way? That's really important. A guy I know, Tom Blackledge, he used to be in the UFC. He says, the treasure you seek is in the cave that you fear to enter. And it's the same with emotions, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about people who are struggling with depression, struggling with anxiety, struggling with mental health, there's always an emotion attached to it. By understanding that emotion, then when you mentioned it before about identity, you as a footballer is not your whole identity. Might be part of your identity, but you are so much more. It's like what I say to people who struggle with addiction. They might struggle with addiction, but they are not addict. When we give that power of statement to that word, it becomes our identity. You were a footballer, but as a human being, you are not a footballer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You are so much more than a footballer. When you mentioned before about being a captain, the values of being a captain or a leader isn't instilled from a football pitch. It's instilled from inside you as a human being. The way that you were raised, the way that you treat people, the way that you look at life, the value that you hold in you as a person. But it's unfortunate that the power of belief strips all that away from you when we're put into something so negative as a life or death situation, right?
Yeah.
All their values, all that the work that we do around identity and purpose and values, we feel as though we lose. Oh, we lose connection with those values, with that identity of who we are. simply to exist, simply to stay alive. And I did it myself. I tried to end my life. I said 3 years ago the other day, but it wasn't. It was more like 4. I don't know. What my missus says to me all the time, you fucking make things up. And I do sometimes. I'll just say a number and then I think, why have I just said that number? It's fucking wrong. But anyway, it was about 4 years ago. I was sat in a dark room, no TV on, no windows open, and I was just drinking, taking cocaine, and I was taking Zopiclone sleeping tablets as well. And I'd hallucinate from the sleeping tablets. And then I just remember standing up and I held my heart, mate. It was like,
Yeah.
that's how fast my heart was going. And I just remember that blood coming out of my nose and out my mouth and out my fucking ear, out my eye. And I thought, shit, I'm dying. But then as I dropped to my knees, I thought, I don't care no more. I just didn't care, wasn't bothered. I did care, but my beliefs had almost hypnotized me into the fact that nobody loves you, everybody hates you, nobody wants to be around you because all you do is mope around and cry and sulk. You're probably better off dead. And that's what my behavior, that's what my beliefs are telling me at that moment in time.
Yeah.
4 years later, I wouldn't dream of saying those words to myself.
Yeah.
Even out loud, even in jest. Even if I used to joke a lot about how I'd look because I'm a big fucker. I'm like 6'6", and I go up and down in weight quite a lot. I played football myself. I was a goalkeeper for 20 years. But I joke about it. Oh, I've put weight on. I'm a fat fucker. I went up to like 26 stone at one point. Like when I was at the worst part of my depressive stages, I was heavy, man. I was heavy. But I fluctuate now, and I think it's a symptom of how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling good, I work hard in the gym. I eat right. I can do that solid for 2 months, and then I'll get one little blip, and then I'll start to put weight on, and I'll start to not look after myself. That's probably the most important thing that I'm working on this year. And it's all around the power of belief, what we tell ourselves and how we perceive ourselves to the world. That creates our reality. I didn't believe in quantum theory and quantum physics and all this fucking science mad stuff. But there was a guy, Joe Dispenza, his name is on YouTube, Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you haven't listened to him, honestly, just bang his YouTube on when you're asleep or lying in bed or whatever and just listen to him. Because the brain doesn't know the difference between the reality and what we're telling ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it with a guy. I won't do it with you, but I did it with a guy the other week. And I said to him, close your eyes, picture yourself in your bedroom, walk down the stairs. You can hear the wind coming through the window. You walk through the kitchen. When you're in the kitchen, you pick a knife up off the knife block. You can hear the knife being pulled out of the knife block. I said, then you go to the refrigerator, you open the fridge, you take a lemon out of the fridge. You can feel the texture of the lemon in your hand. You then cut that lemon open and you feel the juice dripping down your hand. Then you can start to smell the juices going up through your nose. And then you taste it. You taste the lemon. And he started salivating, the lad. Started salivating from the mouth. And I did, even though I was saying it,
Yeah.
I started to do it. Because the mind doesn't know the difference between the reality and what you're telling yourself. And it's really important that the power of belief is that you said it there, for instance, yourself. The 10 positive things that you do in the day outweigh the one, let's call it a negative for the sake of the conversation, even though it's not. Positive will outweigh the negative, which allows you to then take the small wins from your day. And that's really, really important, right? Well, let me ask you this question, mate. What's changed internally in you from the days of you lying on the sofa to doing what you're doing now? Belief, right?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think the belief of everything, the belief of I'm okay, the belief of the confidence that I've come back, like the belief of I feel as though I can do anything and everything. Every day is an excitement for me. Every day for myself right now, when I wake up, and the belief of going, it's in my control about what I want to do with my day, and it's in my control about how I see my day, and it's my choice about what I want to do on that day. And I believe that, to live that, and like you say, everything that you're saying towards belief is 100% correct, because I know that I've instilled a belief in myself that however I want to be, regardless of what happens around me, regardless of how other people want to perceive me to an extent, so many different things, is that I always believe that if I can try and be the person that I want to be, and I believe that I'm doing what's right for me as well as anything else that comes into my life, then I know for myself that everything's going to be okay. And that's the one thing that's changed with me, where I never liked being by myself, or I never liked standing for too long, or I never had a shower because a bath would have me sitting down and I feel more relaxed. Like, I have a belief now of going, I'm past the worst of everything. Like, everything's going to be okay. And as you say, it takes so much time, but it almost like you have to build that confidence in your belief. Like, I can't just all of a sudden, and I've said it loads of times, I can't just all of a sudden overnight click my fingers and go,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to believe that. Like, it was almost like, right, there's going to be days that it does defeat me a little bit, and I am going to have to battle against that, and I will lay in bed and I'll be curled up and a panic attack comes along, and these things have happened. But you know what? Tomorrow's a new day, and it's another day to go again and go, yesterday is been and gone, which I can't change. I'm just in my choice now. I'm going to choose to not let it drag on any longer. I'm going to go, today I'll try something different. Or today I'm going to go back to the same thing again, and I'm going to make everything again that's uncomfortable back into a new comfort zone, and find a new way of living, where I thought football was my life. Football I look at now and go, that's a chapter in a life that's so much bigger.
Yeah.
And that's how I see everything now, where my whole life and belief system is, the day ahead of myself is the only thing I can control. What was in my past, I've accepted has happened, and what might happen in my future might never happen. So I'm not going to even think that far, and I'm not going to worry myself about what could come and what might happen, because the only thing that can alter or change that is the day that I've got physically in front of me. And the choices that I make in that day is the only thing that can determine what potentially might happen tomorrow. But someone could wake up late, something could happen differently. And why would I want to sit and worry myself about that? So I simplified my whole life to a simple thing of, and I know it sounds simple to say, but after doing it for 5 years of just narrowing it down to the only single day that I can control, everything in my life has become so much more laid back and chilled and simpler for me to be able to control, because I go, well, that is all I can do. That is the least I can do. And whatever happens in that day, I'm okay with, because I know it's been a choice of mine, whether that is being as busy as possible or whether that's doing completely nothing. I've made the choice of it, and I'm okay with that. And that's where I'm at, is that, like, again, I talk about it enough about just, I have a sense of being proud of myself so much more now, that I actually, what was so hard in speaking about, like you say, you're always afraid of what the outside influence might be of, if you speak about yourself, how people are going to see that. So if I say that, people are going to think, oh, he's thinks so much of himself, or he's a bit up his own arse, or he's this and he's this. Whereas I'm like, well, I know what I've been through, and I know where I've been, and I'm going to be open and honest about it. I'm not going to sit and spread little lies about things, or I'm not going to sit and add it and jazz up a story. I'm going to just say it as it is. And the saying it as it is something that I go, well, I'm not sitting lying about anything. And the right people will listen and hear what I have to say, and will be able to resonate with things. And other people who might just think, oh, here he is going again about his open heart. Well, then it's not for you. So be it. But I'm not going to sit and worry about that. I'm just going to keep speaking from my experience. And that, again, came down to a belief of just believing that I'm doing what's right for me. And that's exactly where I believe belief systems have just grown in me so much more.
What do you value? So if I was to ask you what your top 5 values are as a human, as you, what do you value more than anything in life?
I'd say what I value is I value family. I value myself. I value my own life. And once I have those things in such a small circle, I just always believe that everything else will fall into place. Like
Absolutely.
I value my own happiness. I've and it all sounds like it's going to sound selfish, but to be honest, I value having a selfish streak in myself, that I need to have that little bit of selfishness for my own happiness. I need to value what I believe is happiness for me. And those values for me is something where if I can be happy and content in my own space, and I can be happy and content in my own mind to where I was before to how I am now, if I know the people I've got in my life are happy for me and I'm happy for them, then that is all that matters to me. Everything else around that is how the world will look around me. If you get me, it's almost like how I feel, the world will look a better place. How I feel, the world will be a more positive place because I feel positive. So I want to see positive around me. Whereas everyone knows when you want to feel negative or see negative, well, then you will notice so much more negative. It's like that whole
Yeah.
thing where when there was somebody sitting in a room, they say, spot everything that's red in the room. And then they ask you the question by the end of it, go, right, where's that? Where's the black thing in the corner? And you're almost like, oh, I didn't see that, because you're not looking for it. So I want to, for myself, look for the positives, and I want to look for the good times, and I want to look for the happiness in the smallest of things and the smallest of windows that might be on that certain day. But I know that that's what keeps me going, and that's what makes me the person that I am, and I value that. So my happiness is a massive value to me, and the people that come into that circle will add more to that, but they will never subtract it. And if they do, well, then that person, what I always believe is that selfish streak that says people come and go. So people might be there for certain moments of my life, that might be there for a particular moment to either teach me something, to either help me along with something, or to be there for a long extended period. But I don't hold on with an expectation of thinking I need to have this person for the rest of my life, because
Yeah.
unfortunately sometimes life doesn't come that way and doesn't be that way. So things can be that way where people do come and go. And I'm just, yeah, I feel like I'm just settled in my life where I'm actually in a comfort of anything that has happened to me, and everything around me is perfect for me.
Something that I've learned a lot of this year is something called neurolinguistics, neurolinguistical programming. And I was shown this, it was viewed to me as an iceberg method. Um, and at the bottom, we have identity. And above that, we have values and beliefs. And then the next level up was behaviors, I think. So it was identity, beliefs, values, behaviors, skills, environment. And environment was the top level. So the environment is where your beliefs, values, skills, and behaviors were expressed in the physical world, basically. And the way I looked at it was we behave a certain way because I didn't know what my values were for a long time, mate. I didn't understand what values were. It was only this year that I did sort of like a mindfulness and meditation work with my mentor around values. Now I know what my top 5 values are, but I think for a lot of people we're lost in the world because we don't understand or see who's looking back at us in the mirror, what our identity is, what our values are, what our beliefs are. I think we have this echo from society that tells you how to live a certain way, how to act a certain way. And the fact of the matter is, it's absolute bullshit.
Yeah,
Because how can they tell me and you to live the same way when we've both grown up in completely different realities, different worlds? It's impossible. And this is what I believe the biggest issue is with, especially in men, is that if we don't align to these so-called social values of what it is to be a man, then we feel inadequate we feel less of a human being. You weren't able to play football through a heart issue. Should that make you feel less of a man? No. Did it make you feel less of a man? Probably. It's crazy how this social construct allows itself into our life. You said there about internal and external, right? There's nothing externally now that can penetrate me and my world.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned before about being selfish, is it selfish or is it having well-being as one of your values? Your well-being comes before somebody else's. Is that selfish? No, that's just one of your values, same as me. I value my well-being, my happiness with my family over, let's say, for yours, for instance, because I'm me, right? You do the
Uh-huh.
same. You value yours over mine. And the way I see it now is there's a big world out there. Some people will say there's a big bad world. It's only bad if you look at it as being bad. I live in North Wales, so I went down to Anglesey on the weekend. No, a couple of weekends ago, with my missus and the dog, and I jumped in the sea, and I was fucking meditating in the sea, mate. You know what I mean? I'd have never done that in my life.
Yeah.
But I turned around and I looked, and I was like, this is amazing. This is beautiful. 3 years ago, I'd be stuck in a fucking crack den, or 5 years ago, stuck in a crack den or a house party at 6 o'clock in the morning, off my nut, talking absolute bollocks. But now I live in this world where that person feels like it was literally a past life, a previous life,
Yeah.
because I've changed the emotional. We can't change the past. The memories of the past will always be there, right? Always. But what we can do is we can change the emotion attached to the memory of the past. And that's what trauma is. I had a lot of shit go on when I was a young lad. And for a long time, I resented people, hated people. I held a lot of anger. Taking that anger away and putting, let's say, love in there, then changes my memory of my perception of the past.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's
Uh-huh.
what trauma is. Whereas you'll have the anxiety now of the way that you lived your life for a while after having surgery, where you'd feel the fear of um, being in, or not moving out of bed, for instance, right? You might relive that moment sometimes, and you might get a sweat. You might feel, a bit nervous by changing the emotion. So rather than you sitting there thinking, like you've said, oh no, something bad's going to happen. Now you think nothing bad's going to happen. I'm fucking safe. By
Yeah.
saying those words, you tell your body you're safe, which then sends the message up your nervous system into your mind, which creates the safe environment for you. And that's the beauty of the power of belief, is that we can be and do anything that we want
Yeah.
within ourselves. And it's beautiful. You're the same person. You're not the same person, but you're in the same body as what you were a couple of years ago. But yet your belief and mindset has changed that much. Your world has changed, and it's fucking amazing. I love it.
Yeah. No, I genuinely 100% agree. Like, with so many things, as you say, where I used to look back and hate the fact of having the open heart surgery, and I hated the fact of having to go through it, and I hated the fact of I've been through it, and now I've got this valve in my chest that I hate having because all I do is hear it and feel it. And it's almost like when I hated it, I feel it now as in to say, oh no, I'm glad it's there. Like, I'm used to it now, and look at the reason this is beating is because I'm still alive, so I'm grateful for it. And as you say, it's changing the
Yeah.
perspective and the perception of it. Is the fact of I wouldn't be the person I am now if I didn't have the open heart surgery, and I wouldn't feel this relaxed in my life and the perspectives I've got in my life if I didn't have the open heart surgery. So because I had it, I'm glad I had it. And it's not saying that I wish it upon anybody that you need to go through open heart surgery to feel these things, but like you say, it's the joys of understanding that everything that has happened to me has all led me to this point where I'm at now, and the opportunities and the things that have come my way. And the person that I am has all happened for a reason of to go, well, do you know what? For me to be able to be as comfortable as I am, to share what I share, and to speak as openly as I do, and to be comfortable with it, to hopefully somebody listens and it might help them in something that they're going through. Well, I'm glad, and I'll speak it openly for anybody and everybody to hear. And it's one of these things that as time has gone on, and I only spoke about it last summer when I was home. I went back to see that healer, and it was a couple of years later because I thought I want to catch up with him. And he said, like, there was a whole different feeling towards me walking in the door than what I was before. And he said to me, so what's happening with your work life now? And I said, I don't know why, but I said the last couple of years, everything that I've done or put my mind to has all been geared around helping someone. And now all of a sudden, the job role that I'm in now, I'm in the charity sector of what my old team are. And now that's helping kids and helping a disability group, and helping walking football and helping all these people. And but I feel like a comfort with it, and I feel as though this is meant for me. Like, I believe that this is meant for me. And again, you go back to the whole belief system, is that I genuinely believe this. I genuinely believe that I have had all this happen to me because it's out there now to bring out more inside of me, to bring out that more of a leadership quality that was inside of me. That football made me a captain. Now this is going to make me a certain way in life. This is going to allow you to understand more people. And you spoke about social media and how I view things now. I believe that the world lives in an algorithm. Like, the world lives in an algorithm. Like, when you see a fella wearing a certain set of clothes, or women wear certain sets of clothes, everybody starts wearing them and other people start wearing them. So, like, I never sit on a person's podcast and sit and say, I know the gospel, and if you do this, this is what I believe in, and if you do this, you will be perfect. Because I know as well as you do that we've all got different lives and different reasons for certain things. My belief system is that there's something out there for everyone. Just exhaust every avenue for you and don't give up on it. That's what I believe in, that I can tell people, because I go, what I have done for me doesn't mean it'll suit you, doesn't mean it'll suit the next person. But if you're willing to exhaust every avenue, the guarantee is that there will be something that will fall into your lap that will just resonate and click a finger and go, oh, I didn't even know I actually like this. Actually, do you know what? Yeah, this has a little bit of something. I can see the light at the end of a tunnel type feeling. And that's what I believe, is that with social media, unfortunately, everybody's living in a world of, we sit and compare. We sit and compare our lives. If this person has loads of money, well, how are they having loads of holidays and I'm not? I want to be doing what they're doing. So if he owns 3 businesses, I must own 3 businesses. And if I'm not, it means I'm unsuccessful, which means I'm failing in life. As you say, people think there's a specific rule book on how to live and why to live a certain way, where everybody's got a unique life for themselves and there's no specific way to live it. The only way that anybody should ever live their life is for themselves, and it's for what you do in that life should only ever matter to you. And if that makes you successful, I believe success is only how happy you can ever be. And if you have a certain level of happiness and comfortable in your life, whatever that might look like, you're successful. Everything else with money, cars, and Instagram posts and followers and all that, that'll all come and go. That will all be gone one day. So if that's what you're solely relying on, as well as relationships to make you happy and to express your life and all of that, I look at that and go, well, if you have that inner happiness, you can explore and cherish life. An add-on person and an add-on happiness to your life should be a partner. It shouldn't be something to give you happiness, because if that person is to get up and go, your life is back being shattered again and everything is ruined again and you're back to square one. You should always have a reliability on yourself. Like, rely on yourself to give you what you need, and then everything else outside of that will mirror that, which then you will start attracting what's right for you. And it's not going to be right for everybody, but it will be right for you. And that's how I literally see life in that type way, where when you do take a step back and you just watch how the world is going on, you almost sit and think, well, I'm glad I see things how I see things for myself, because there is a lot unfortunately a lot of lonely people out there that think there's a specific way to live, and there's no specific way to live a perfect life, because no life is going to be perfect. No one is a failure. No one is a person that needs to be put down. I just believe that everybody has a right to live however they want to live. And if you are living that to the best of your abilities, and however that might look for you, well, then I believe that's your success. And that's you being a successful person, regardless of what anyone else is. And I always think the less you want to sit and judge or compare yourself, the happier you'll be. Because the less that people want to judge anything in your life, and if you don't want to judge somebody or compare your life to someone, the happier you'll be. Which is why you look back at before social media and before anything, everybody just got on with their lives. And the only time you'd read something would be a newspaper. And not many people read newspapers. So it was always just kind of like you just got on about, you met people and you understood them. Whereas now you can read anything and everything about someone, or they put out there what they want you to see. And everybody thinks there's a specific way to be. And I just look at it and think there's no rule book to this. It's almost like take your journey as it is, but just learn it as you go along. Everybody's learning. So why not just understand the fact of learning what you are and what the messages might be that are coming your way, and roll with it in that incorporates into your life. That's the right way of living, if there is a right way of living.
It's called hedonism, or hedonistic lifestyle, is when we believe. I had a guy who came to the studio here the other week. I had a guy who he was talking about, he wanted to prove people wrong by having fast cars and nice houses. And I said, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, mate. Don't get me wrong. I'd love a fucking nice big house and a boat. Love it. But I want to make sure it's for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I want to make sure it's doing something that I'm passionate about, doing something that I love, and doing something that inspires me to help other people. He said to me, he said, I want to prove my family wrong. I want to have a nice car and a nice house. I said, the thing is, mate, and it's easy for me to say, the thing is, you can have a nice car. You can have, let's call it a Porsche. You can have a Porsche, but in 5 years' time, that Porsche is a fucking Ford Fiesta, you know, because the value that you've attached to that car will be gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine to want to aim for we've all got aspirations in life, right? We all want to do well. We all want to get on and live a nice lifestyle. So when we ask people what do they want in life, there's only really three things that we want, and that's freedom, or financial freedom, meaning, so we have meaning to our life, and well-being, whatever that looks like. Three things. And financial freedom, or freedom, can come in any shape or form. I got a friend of mine. He drives on the night shifts for Tesco's, delivering stuff. When he's not in work, mate, he's out in the woods barefoot, fucking butt naked, jumping in streams and rivers, and he camps in the woods, mate. He's one of the most beautiful, caring, kind people that I've ever met in my life. To him, sitting in a 5-bedroom house with a Lamborghini in the front would make him feel sick.
Yeah.
But he's living, and it's easy. People would say, "Oh yeah," the typical answer is, "Yeah, well, he's got fuck all, so he's bound to say that." You know what I mean? But that's not true. He genuinely doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I've took a lot of inspiration from him. You know, there's him, his guitar, and he'll sit on a rock playing music in the middle of the woods, and that's what he calls life. Easy,
Yeah.
easy, right? Beautiful. Obviously, with you being a footballer, I've got to ask you a couple of football questions before we go. Who was the best team you played against, or who was the best player that you played against?
The best team that I played against by far was Manchester City.
Right.
We got to play against them in the FA Cup 5th round when I was at Newport, and I got to be captain in that game, which was lovely. And then the best player on that pitch, David Silva. It was, yeah, the game itself, like, obviously it's a 5th round of an FA Cup. We were never back to get that far. We beat Middlesbrough in the fourth round. I think we beat Leicester in the third round. So we were in that kind of season where it was just the giant killing team is coming to town, and Man City were coming down to our stadium, and you have all like the cliche stuff of people saying keep it below 10 and all this, like, because it was the Pep Guardiola era where the team were just running riot. And I remember going in for the captain's handshake and different things when you do the squad list, and then David Silva walked out, and it's almost like it was a surreal moment where you're standing there in a room where I'm thinking, on any other situation, you probably sit and get like a selfie with him and you talk with him or whatever. He's a World Cup winner. He's a two-time European Cup winner. And you're standing in the same room thinking, I'm ready to go out and play against him. But we didn't know what the team were going to be. And I remember our assistant manager at the time had the team sheet. So as we were walking back into the changing room, he showed me the team sheet and I just kind of went, oh no. So we walked back in and all the lads were like, oh, who was the captain? Who was the captain? I was like, David Silva. And they were like, oh, have they gone strong? And I said, wait until he writes the squad up. So I just started laughing. And then, like, number one is Ederson. It was Danilo, John Stones, Otamendi, Zivchenko, Fernandinho, David Silva, Phil Foden, Mahrez, Sane, and Jesus up top. And then on the bench was Raheem Sterling, Kevin De Bruyne, Laporte, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, Kyle Walker. That was the bench. So we were all sitting there going, oh, here we go. Because we didn't know if they were going to bring a strong team with us being a League Two side. And I'll never forget that as he was doing that, one of our players spoke up and said, lads, as we're sitting here watching him writing out their squad, do you think they're shitting themselves in there going, we've got Joe Day in goal, we've got Robbie Wilmot, we've got Mark O'Brien as centre-back. And we all just started, like, it kind of broke the silence where we just thought, look at lads, go out and give her all what like, we put ourselves in this position, in a very good position. They're in our stadium, let's give it everything. And we went out to do the warm-up, and there was already like 5,500 fans in the stadium. And the stadium can only hold, on an FA Cup night, 10,000. So you're already half full, and the atmosphere for us just warming up, it was like a perfect evening. And we were, the positive thing to come out of that evening was we were the fifth team in Europe that season to keep Man City to a 0-0 at halftime. Wow. And that was, I think we were up there where I seen the stat on, it was Twitter at the time, and it was like, there was Man United, it was AC Milan, Inter Milan, Arsenal, Liverpool, and then Newport County badge just right on the right-hand corner. I was like, that was like a statistic in itself. But we went all the way to 90 minutes. We were 2-1 down. They scored two late winners when we were pushing for that last, hopefully, equaliser, but gave it everything. But that evening itself, like, the quality that was on show, like, our squad in the newspapers, we think I said it was worth, I think, over 400,000-500,000 all in. And their team that they put out onto the pitch was worth 650 million. Like, you shouldn't be on the same pitch as them, but that's why everybody loved the FA Cup. Like, it was one of those magical evenings of the FA Cup.
Yeah, man. So what does the next 12 months hold for you then, with the work that you're doing, and the work that you'd like to do in the future? What does that look like?
I think the next 12 months for me, again, goes back to how I am right now, is I don't look that far, unfortunately, or whether it's fortunately. I've been put in this new role as the ambassador of Newport, where, because it's the first time they've actually given this role to somebody, it's whatever I want to make it to be.
Yeah.
So where I'm at right now, and diving headfirst in on the community charity side of stuff, and being part of that, and wanting to kind of enhance that and getting it spoken about more, and just being so much more hands-on, and hopefully gaining the connection and the club, the community and the club as a one whole unit where we're all in the one direction. And that's the way that I want it to be, and that's the way that I want to see it going. And I want to try and create something off the back of that for myself, to be able to have like a little group off the side of that I can build for myself, and do it on that aspect, where on behalf of the club, that it's another community project that's going to go my way. Now, however that's going to look, I'm unsure at the moment, but I want to just kind of keep adding more stuff to the community, and give back to Newport as a place. And that's where I see it going for me in the next 12 months. And whatever that might look like, and however that may be, with the people that I come across and the certain people, even in the background, the stuff on the commercial sides that I might come across, I don't know how that's going to be. But I see it as an excitement of not knowing. And I see it as the excitement of going, well, I'm heading in the right direction, and it feels the right direction, and I enjoy every day. Like, it doesn't feel like work. So I'm not going to sit and try and plan it out to how it should look. I'm going to go along with it and mold it to the way that it is at the moment for me. And that's how I see it going. So whatever it is, I just know it'll get given me all, and I'll make it a success one way or the other.
Nice, mate. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, and if you ever want to come here in the future, I've got you can't see it very well on there, but I've got like a studio now.
Yeah.
If you're ever up this way anywhere, mate, up north, I'm about 30 minutes outside, well, 15 minutes outside Chester is where I am.
Perfect.
If you're ever up this way, mate, give us a shout. We'll do something face to face. But
yeah,
listen, I wish you nothing but the best. I hope that whatever you plan for comes true, which I'm sure it will. And I've got one more question, mate, and I ask everybody the same question. If you could sit round a dinner table with 4 people from the past, they can be alive, not alive, family members, heroes, who would it be? 4 people.
4 people. I would want to sit around a dinner table with. Oh, that put me so on the spot. It literally has. I always would like to sit around a table with someone who has walked on the moon, who has done like a space expedition, because I don't know why, whether it is the background of space, I just have a big interest on that to kind of want to know the truth behind the lot.
So do you want to say like Neil Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin?
Yeah, I'd say like a Neil Armstrong, I'd say.
Yeah.
I would say I'd like to sit around the table with my granddad again, because he's somebody that obviously, while I lived away, passed away, but he's the only kind of grandparent I knew growing up. So like, to have him around would be nice. Oh, it is a tough one. Like, it's like your mind goes blank with a question like this to try and think, who do you want to sit around the table with?
I'll tell you what then, just the first 2 people that pop into your head dead quick. Don't even think about it. Just literally the first 2 people.
Or the first 2 people that would pop into my head I'd say, right, my mum, because she's always the life of the party, Buzz Aldrin for the sake of space expeditions, and I would say my granddad, because he was always very quick-witted.
One non-family member from the last 50 years.
One non-family member from the last 50 years. I would say does Brian Cox, the scientist. Cool. Brian Cox, I think,
my missus loves him.
Such an intelligent man that knows a lot about a lot, and I could sit and listen. Like, I used to go to away games and I had my headphones on and I'd listen to a podcast of him, and I know certain things of the speed of light across the Andromeda and different things like that I thought I'd never know these things, but it's just fascinating that someone knows in depth the type of stuff. And then actually I found one more. There's a bloke that I've been obviously following on socials for a long time, and I've seen some of the movies and documentaries they've done. Dr. Stephen Greer. He does a lot of stuff on the background of a disclosure stuff with aliens and UFOs and different things, and how he talks about certain truths and different things. I'd like to sit down and actually speak with him face to face to kind of go, right, tell me everything, like that type of thing.
Yeah, it'd be nice for Stephen Greer and Brian Cox to have a conversation. I don't think
like that would literally,
they wouldn't get on very well.
Be the conversation of the century.
Yeah. Listen, mate, that's it. It's been a pleasure listening to your story. It's brilliant. This is what I like to do. It's the power of conversation. It's to give people hope, right? There's a lot of people struggling in this world when if they could just be that little bit kinder to themselves, it'd help massively, you know? And
Yeah.
it's by hearing my story, your story, other people's stories that allows us to be that little bit kinder to ourselves and realize that, you know, I don't like saying we're all in the same boat because we're not. We're all on the same river. We're all in our own boats, but we're all on the same river of this mad fucking shooting star that's flying through space or whatever we are. And you know, we just need to learn to understand that life is beautiful,
Yeah.
life is precious, and life is one way. You know, we can never go backwards. We can only go forwards, and that's what we need to realize as human beings. And I appreciate you, mate. Thank you very much.
No, honestly, I appreciate the opportunity, and I believe like everything that I've seen of what you do and everything that you do, like it's amazing, and to even just be part of that, a small part of that for everything that you've done, it's like I can only ever thank you for the opportunity.